Okay. This one. Cool. Okay. Hello, everybody. Sorry about the last minute adjustment. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I wanted to sort of do a quick review over wellbore diagrams, talk about basic drilling engineering concepts, and that's the plan. So, I'm not sure if you can notice, but I'm using a different setup. I'm back to school now, and my goal right now is to sort of bring content at least once every single week. But cross my fingers, student life, that's going to change probably. So, um, wellbore diagrams is extremely important um, for drilling because that's kind of how we design our wells. Um, but today I wanted to go over like the basic principles, and if you haven't watched some of my previous videos, such as about the geology, location, some of the parts of a drilling rig, I really recommend watching those first. You can find them on my channel, and I think uh, it'll make more sense because I don't want to re-explain those concepts to again. It'll be redundant. So, um, when it comes to wellbore diagrams, you have to consider a lot of uh, come on. You have to when you're considering when you're designing your well, there's a lot of things that you have to consider. There's stuff like let's say the geology, for example. Um, what kind of where like how deep is your source rocks, how what kind of formation are you dealing with, um, and actually technically under this category I also want to include stuff like the weather, because when you're designing a well you also have to take into consideration the conditions where it's going to stay. Um, but enough about that. Um, Another thing that you need to consider is kind of on top of geology in particular is the reservoir. Like, what kind of reservoir are you dealing with? Are you dealing with a reservoir that has a gas cap? Or are you dealing with a water drive? Are you dealing with, let's say, I don't know, a depletion drive? Are you going to need some sort of form of artificial lift? And those things that you need to consider as well. Um, mm. Also, on top of the reservoir, I want to just briefly briefly also include the laws. Maybe you're dealing with an area where there's a water aquifer that you need to protect, or maybe there's some sort of set of casing that you need to set because um, there is some like law where you have to set casing, an extra set of casing under this many feet. All of these things you have to consider, but we're not gonna go over all of these today. I kind of want to just jump right in. Um, so when you have a well bore, let's say this is the surface, and you are, that was awful. Pardon me. Let me erase this. Okay, so come on. Nope, nope. How do I do this? Like I said, working out the kinks. Um, oop. Yeah, we can leave it like that. Fuck. Okay. Excuse me. Uh, I know I can do better than this. There you go. Close enough. So, assume we have a Wellbore right here, right? Um, the biggest thing that uh, the key understanding to designing a Wellbore diagram is that you design it backwards. And what I mean by that is, um, so you assume you drill your hole, you run your logs, you take care of um, anything. Let me repeat that. So I misunderstood myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Um, so when you design your wellbore, you start backwards. So let's just say I'll scroll down over here. You have a surface, correct? And let's say, come on, where's my cursor? There you go. Let's say your reservoir is over here. And so when you drill your hole, you need um, at least a few pieces of casing, and one of them is going to be from the surface downwards, and this would be your surface casing. And I'm not going to make any values right now. I'm not that I can't think of the numbers on the spot, but you get the idea. Surface casing is the casing that is set, as it's called, at the or shallow at the surface, where it's meant to protect a water aquifer, or to kind of protect the mostly for like a water aquifer. Next, we have see if I can draw a straight line this far down. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see this, and I'm not just going crazy. You see here, this area over here, when you have your, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself again, sorry. When you, after you drill your hole here, I'll mark it in, let's say, red. So when you drill your hole, right, and you set your surface casing, you want your next set of casing to be lower than your surface casing, or the radius to be lower than your surface casing. Otherwise, it won't fit at all. So what happens is, when you're drilling, you use your drill bit, you drill down, I don't know if you guys, can you see my cursor? I can't really tell. But, so, let's say you drill your hole, you drill your next hole deeper into the formation, say around here, to set your next set of casing, right? So what happens is that you set your casing and you cement, you inject cement the from the casing, and it goes like this to outside of the annular radius. I don't if that makes any sense. Think of this as like a long cylinder, two cylinders in between each other. So you have cement being pumped down to the annular side, and the uh, the cement dries, it hardens, it keeps its place, and then you're ready to set your next set of casing. So, but this set of casing, let's call it intermediate casing. Intermediate casing is casing that's sort of in between the surface and the production casing, which we'll get to in about a minute. But this is really meant for deeper formations, for an area that requires more than just the production casing. Let's go back over here. Now let's, for the sake of brevity, you can have more than one intermediate casing. So, okay, there you go. Now, you drill even deeper, and you notice the radius is getting smaller all the way down to the reservoir. You pump your cement, displace it with your drilling fluid, or mud, and now you have over here, where's my cursor, the production casing. Now, the production casing is the casing that reaches all the way to the reservoir. Sometimes it goes all the way up to the surface. Sometimes it will just hang off of here. You call that a liner. And I'm actually learning about liners right now in one of my classes. But yeah, production casing goes all the way down to the reservoir, and this creates another hole that we can ooh, that was awful. Let's do over here. Man. Let's do this. Oh man, that was awful. You can set tubing down hole. And for the sake of brevity, just I can't draw a straight line, so you can set your production tubing. And uh, production tubing is similar to casing. It's made out of the same materials. It's just different named based on the function. And basically, this is where all of your fluids come up through. And um, and this right here is pretty much your basic wellbore diagram. And and I know that was kind of quick, so I kind of want to uh, go about it in a little bit of depth, because this is your basic wellbore diagram, but it can always be different. There could be, let's say, uh, a packer right here, which uh, which happens in completions. Um, it could be an open hole. Lots of these casings are, lots of these diagrams are different, but this is kind of what I wanted to touch upon. Um, but when we are actually designing the wellbore or the casing or the drill string, we try, or we go backwards in the sense of, how do I explain this? In terms of sizing, I guess the best or the easiest way to explain this would be from our production tubing or casing. Let me from our come on. Let's do here. From our production casing and tubing, we look at the drill collars and determine the sizes of our intermediate casing. Then we look at this and determine our surface casing sizes. Now, I'm gonna have to either find an example or find a problem, because I honestly don't have any in front of me. But there is, how you say, you know what? I think I might do a follow-up to this sometime down the road. But just keep in mind that when it comes to designing your wellbore schematics and wellbore diagrams, you have to consider there's a lot of factors in the geology, in the reservoir, in the laws. There is casing and tubing, which are defined based on their position, based on their function, based on their material, their OD and ID, their inner diameter and their outer diameter, their what is it called? I think that's all of them. Yeah. This is what I get for doing things live. Um, but from here, we can jump into what we've talked about before with, because once you from this diagram, once you perforate the zone, which is basically, imagine they put what is called a perforating gun, and then just boom, 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 and they pierce little holes through the casing and into the reservoir, and because the reservoir pressure is greater than the wellbore pressure, uh, uh, your reservoir hydrocarbons can start flowing into this area. So that's far down the rabbit hole of how, but I just kind of want to review kind of what a wellbore diagram should look similar like. And I'm sorry I didn't do that well of a job, but like I said, I'll probably make a follow-up video to this. Maybe something slower, more in depth, but a lot of this you can talk about for a really long time. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope that I can sort of I'm hoping that I can stream a little bit more in the future. And so school's just started for me, so I'm kind of still trying to focus and get on top of that. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.